My name is Shiv. This is my 2010 Ferrari 458 Italia. I've owned this car longer than I've owned any other car in my life, and you're watching Answer. All the things I liked about it, my favorite thing is the steering and handling balance. It's rare to find a high-performance car which is as exploitable. It's very driver-centric, so it feels like you kind of drive with your fingertips and your toes. There's not a lot of gross manual effort to go fast, so it ends up feeling as a very natural, biological extension of your body. And that's a very cliched thing to say, but it really applies here more so than other vehicles. Steering is fast, and everything, it's hard to just say it handles good, because there's so many things which kind of come from handling. By handling, I'm even talking about how quick the corrections are. You don't need gross, giant counter-steer corrections to catch this car. Little things. So when you take out the mechanical aspect of driving, it becomes very hardwired neurologically to you. Even things on how when the car slides, it rotates around the driver. The driver feels like the center apex of the rotation. So unlike other cars I've owned, like say a AMG GTS where you're sitting on the rear axle, when the car starts to slide, you're sliding a lot because you're at the back of that pendulum. So it doesn't give you a very secure feeling, because not only are you sliding, you're on top of the big fat wheels and its car's bouncing and you're putting unwanted input into the car. Ferrari, they knew what they were doing. They put you right in the center of that wheelbase, and they make sure the suspension's compliant, and they make sure you don't have any weird bump steer characteristics. So even when you're loading up the car and hitting bumps, it still maintains a level of fluidity that I have never found in any other car. There's a reason why I've kept it this long with no desire to upgrade to the newest, latest, and greatest, whatever that may be. It just checks all the boxes for me. Least favorite things on this car were, one of them is the stock seats, which these are not, are way too tall. You get a very commanding view of the road, and so you don't have room for a helmet, and you just feel very high. It's not bad. Yeah, I drove it like that for years. It really didn't bother me too much until I sat in a customer car with these carbon race buckets, and I realized, wow, this changes everything. You feel way more connected. It's got more lateral support, more fore-aft support. You could put harnesses through if you really wanted to. I don't think you would care about that in the street. More importantly, it just feels racier, and they're lighter, and they look nice. So yeah, the stock seats aren't ideal. Also not ideal. It's ultimately a 10-year-old car, over 10 years old now. So you have the lack of technology like Bluetooth integration for music. It doesn't exist, at least it doesn't work. No backup camera, which is a real bummer now. We as humans have gotten used to that. So reversing into spots and not knowing where curbs or trees are, that is something which, our primitive brains no longer can deal with. The beeps are a little annoying, like if the startup beep, 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 beep. Not very luxury sounding. It's not very high end. Again, these are kind of grasping at straws here. These are all concessions I would happily make for what the car does do brilliantly. Modifications are minimal hardware-wise. Custom-made mufflers change the pitch of the exhaust. The stock mufflers kind of give a very kind of deep baritone-y sound, which is not what I equate with how Ferrari should sound. So these mufflers give it more F1-y, high-pitched scream. Most of the work I've done as an engine tuner by profession, engine management tuner, is I remapped the ECUs to fix a few rough spots, which I didn't feel should have been there, that were probably there due to emissions compliance or federal sound regulations. Among the changes I made is I remapped the throttle mapping in the race mode in the higher, more aggressive Mantino settings, because it was very overly aggressive, that first 5% throttle, which would work fine on a track, but on the road it kind of made a very jumping, kind of little lurchy kind of drive. On top of that, it's all tied in with the exhaust valve controller mapping, which would make it go with little changes of throttle, very staccato, very. It would end up requiring more driver thought for things you don't want, when you don't want to be very dialed in. I just want to cruise somewhere. So the nice thing about remapping that is I made it so that all the driving modes are nice and quiet, no drone. Give it a little more throttle, it opens up, gets louder. Then you fully get off throttle, the valves open up, and I re-enabled the burble after runs. So you get that nice little burble during decel. Not pops and bangs, not flames, but nice, characterful burbles that Ferrari used to have in there when the car first came out, that they disabled with the software update shortly thereafter due to some federal sound regulations. So I restored that and just, made small changes to throttle mapping, added some more power through changing the fuel mapping, the throttle mapping, the ignition mapping. Only so much you can do on 91 octane that we have here in California, but it picks up 10, 15 horsepower, more torque, just feels more responsive, which is a nice additive change to the car without screwing anything up, which is also very possible to do when you tune these things. So yeah, small changes here and there. Let's go for a drive. If you want to watch that, click on the next video.